It begins the moment you wake up, a sense of pressure. Your day hasn't started, yet the weight is already there. A ringing phone, a demanding email, and suddenly, you're drowning in a sea of tasks. Modern life moves fast, and it's easy to get swept under. The Stoics, however, lived through chaos too. Their lives were filled with wars, politics, and uncertainty, but they found a way to remain productive, focused, and, more importantly, calm. In this guide, we explore how you can maintain that same focus, a balance of work and life without letting the storm break you. So start with our first lesson, which is, the moment you're avoiding is the moment you need. You sit at your desk, staring at the task that feels impossible. You scroll your phone, check emails, anything to delay starting it. We all do it. Avoid what makes us uncomfortable. But here's the truth. The thing you're avoiding is the exact thing that holds your peace. Imagine a moment when you faced something you didn't want to. The weight of the task felt like a shadow over your head. But after hours of evasion, you finally did it. What came next? Relief, energy, the feeling of having conquered something. This is where true productivity lies, not in doing easy tasks, but in facing the ones that scare you. The Stoics called this amor fati. Love your fate. Embrace everything, especially the discomfort. When you face what you fear, your mind grows sharper, your stress shrinks. Instead of running from it, imagine it as the very thing sharpening your focus. The moment you're avoiding isn't a burden, it's a gift in disguise. Once you shift your mindset, the dread dissolves, and what once seemed overwhelming becomes just another step forward. Confront the hard moments first, and suddenly, the rest of the day feels lighter, and stress has nowhere to hide. Second, productivity begins when you become still. You rush from one task to another, thinking that if you keep moving, you'll stay ahead of the chaos. But still, you feel the pressure build. Like a river that crashes through rocks, eventually, you wear down. The Stoics believe that productivity begins not with more movement, but with stillness. Consider the moments you felt most overwhelmed. Did running faster help? Or did it leave you more tangled? Now think about the times you paused, took a breath, stepped away, and allowed yourself a moment of calm. Clarity comes in those pauses, in the moments where you sit in the quiet, even if the world outside is loud. The Stoic philosopher Seneca reminded us that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. When your mind is racing, you create chaos. When you stop, even for a few minutes, you reclaim control. The modern world tells you to hustle harder, to keep going, but in truth, productivity begins when you allow yourself stillness. Before tackling your to-do list, try sitting in silence. Give yourself a moment to breathe, to see clearly, and then proceed. The stiller you are, the more powerful your actions become. Let silence be your fuel, and productivity will follow naturally. Third, small wins create bigger victories. You stand before a mountain of work, and it paralyzes you. How do you even begin? The tasks are so many, the hours too few. You freeze. But the Stoics knew that great victories don't come from attacking all at once. They come from winning small, deliberate battles. Picture this. A soldier in battle doesn't think about surviving the entire war in one moment. They think only about the next fight, the next move, the next step. This is how you should approach your day. Instead of overwhelming yourself with the totality of your workload, break it down. Focus on winning the next moment. One email, one conversation, one small action. Each time you complete something, no matter how insignificant it seems, you've won. This builds momentum, and with it comes confidence. Confidence is the antidote to stress. Suddenly, the mountain doesn't look so high. You're not fighting a war, you're just winning the next battle. This lesson isn't about time management, it's about mental warfare. When you reduce your focus to what's in front of you, you strip stress of its power. Victory isn't the end goal, it's the small moments that lead you there. Stack enough small wins, and you'll find yourself standing atop the mountain without even realizing it. Fourth, stress thrives in your expectations. You walk into the meeting expecting to impress. You start the project expecting to nail it on the first try. But what happens when reality falls short? The disappointment stings, and suddenly stress swarms you. You're no longer working in the moment. You're battling the gap between what you expected and what's real. The Stoics warned about this. They taught that stress thrives not in the task itself, but in the expectations we place on it. You expected it to be easy, fast, perfect, and when it isn't, you suffer. Epictetus reminded us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. What if, instead of expecting perfection, you simply approached each task with curiosity? What if, instead of setting rigid outcomes, you allowed room for mistakes, for flexibility? When you let go of expectations, stress has no foothold. You free yourself from disappointment because there's no ideal to fall short of. This doesn't mean lowering your standards. It means working without the invisible chains of expectation pulling you in different directions. Do the work. Let go of how it should turn out. You'll find that the moment you release expectation, you gain something far more valuable: freedom to act without fear. Fifth, chaos outside, calm inside. The world around you is in constant motion. Work deadlines, family obligations, social media notifications pulling you in every direction. Chaos swirls outside, but the real challenge is how to remain calm inside. Most people get swept away in the current, but the Stoics believe that peace is possible in any storm. Think of a ship in rough seas. The waves crash and toss it, but the captain remains steady at the wheel. You are that captain, no matter what storms rage outside. The key to staying productive and stress-free lies in finding calm within yourself. This calm isn't something that happens on its own. It's a choice. Stoics like Marcus Aurelius would remind themselves, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The world can be chaotic, but you don't have to be. When the stress of external circumstances starts to pull you under, return to this inner calm. How? By focusing on what's real in the present moment. Not what might happen next, not the long list of tasks, but what is directly in front of you. When your mind is calm, your productivity naturally improves because you're no longer divided between worry and action. In chaos, you can still be the eye of the storm. Sixth, burnout comes from false urgency. You feel the ticking clock. Every task seems critical, every email marked urgent, and the pressure builds. But step back. How much of this urgency is real? Burnout doesn't come from hard work. It comes from convincing yourself that everything is a race against time. The Stoics teach us to question urgency. Marcus Aurelius asked himself daily, is this essential? This simple question strips away the illusion that everything matters equally. Not every task is a fire that needs to be extinguished right now. When you realize this, the false sense of urgency fades, and with it, so does your stress. Think about the last time you rushed through something because it felt urgent, only to realize later that the pressure was self-imposed. When you approach each task, ask yourself, is this truly urgent, or am I making it so? Once you start differentiating between what needs to be done now and what can wait, the weight lifts off your shoulders. Burnout sneaks in when you run at full speed all the time, believing that every moment is a crisis. But when you slow down, prioritize, and reject false urgency, you find space to breathe. Productivity doesn't demand stress, it demands clarity. And clarity comes when you let go of the illusion that everything is urgent. Seventh, let your failures work for you. You failed. A project missed the mark. An opportunity slipped through your fingers, and you're left with the sting of disappointment. But failure is not a dead end. It's a tool. The Stoics believe that every failure was a lesson, a chance to build resilience. Imagine you're sculpting a statue. Every strike of the hammer, every chip of the chisel is an attempt to reveal something beautiful underneath. Sometimes, a piece breaks off too much or a crack appears where it shouldn't. But each mistake teaches you something about the next move, the next strike. This is how you should treat your failures. The philosopher Seneca reminded us, a gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials. The stress you feel after failure only exists because you haven't yet seen the lesson it offers. Once you shift your perspective, failures transform into the stepping stones of progress. Instead of obsessing over what went wrong, ask yourself, what can I learn? What did this failure reveal about your habits, your mindset, or your approach? Use the failure to sharpen your productivity, to remove distractions, and to refocus your efforts. With each failure, you're not moving further from success, you're carving the path to it. Eighth, productivity isn't measured in hours. You've been told that working longer means working harder. The longer you grind, the more productive you are, right? But here's the truth. Productivity isn't about the hours you put in. It's about the intensity of focus within those hours. The Stoics would argue that true work happens in the moments of deep concentration, not in the length of time spent. Imagine a blacksmith pounding at iron. It's not the endless hammering that shapes the metal. It's the precise, focused strikes that mold it into something useful. In the same way, your day shouldn't be measured by how many hours you spend at your desk, but by how effectively you use the hours that counted. Epictetus would remind his students to not be distracted by length, but by quality. If you're spending 12 hours distracted, unfocused, and stressed, you've accomplished less than you could in 3 hours of intense, purposeful work. Stress builds not from the tasks themselves, but from the unfocused time we waste between them. So, rethink how you approach your day. Block out time for focused, undistracted work. Measure your productivity by the depth of your focus, not by the ticking clock. You'll find that stress fades, and the work you produce in concentrated bursts will surpass the hours you used to give away. Ninth, embrace solitude to reclaim clarity. In a world constantly connected, notifications, emails, social media, you rarely find a moment to be alone with your thoughts. Yet, it's in solitude where the greatest clarity emerges. The Stoics often retreated into their own minds, carving out space away from the noise, because they knew that solitude is not loneliness, it's power. Imagine you're at the center of a noisy marketplace. People shouting, carts rolling, distractions everywhere. It's impossible to focus. But now imagine stepping into a quiet room, where the only sound is your own breathing. Suddenly, everything becomes clearer, sharper. Solitude is that room, free from external noise, allowing you to hear what truly matters. Marcus Aurelius would find moments of solitude even in the chaos of ruling an empire. He wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." This retreat isn't about withdrawing from life. It's about finding the clarity that stress and distractions cloud. Make solitude a part of your routine, even if just for a few minutes. Step away from the noise, the screens, and the endless demands. In solitude, your mind settles, and the stress that builds from constant interaction dissipates. Clarity returns, and with clarity comes focus, productivity, and peace. 10th, the end of the day is your best tool. The day is over, and you collapse into bed, exhausted. Another day, another blur of tasks, meetings, and stress. But what if the end of the day was your greatest tool for productivity tomorrow? The Stoics believed in the power of reflection, not just as a mental exercise, but as a way to prepare for the battles ahead. Imagine you're a soldier returning from a long day in the field. You don't simply collapse in exhaustion. Instead, you sharpen your sword, clean your armor, and reflect on what went right and what went wrong. This is how you should treat your evenings. Seneca advised, every night, we should ask ourselves, what weakness did I overcome today? What virtue did I acquire? The day's end is not a time to run from, but a time to prepare. Reflect on the stress you felt, the moments that tested your patience, and the tasks that challenged your focus. By examining them, you arm yourself for tomorrow. Use the end of each day to refine your strategy. Look at what worked and what didn't. What caused stress? What helped you stay productive? This reflection turns your failures into lessons and your victories into habits. Tomorrow, you don't just repeat today, you build on it. You've realized something by now. Productivity doesn't require more effort, but more presence. Stress is the shadow that follows when we chase what's outside of our control. But with the right mindset, you become unshakable. You can face each day with purpose, free from the chaos that once consumed you. This isn't the end. It's only the beginning. There's always more to explore, more ways to sharpen your focus, to live with intention. Watch our other videos, dive deeper, and take the next step in mastering yourself. If this video sparked something, hit like, subscribe, and let's keep growing together.